I made a ukulele for my wife out of scrap wood from a guitar I built and a couple pieces of exotic red and purple wood. I don't have a bandsaw, so I ripped pieces of mahogany from the scrap piece. Then I planed them and glued them together so I could have pieces wide enough for the top and back. And then I cut strips for the sides. There's my little paper template. The rest of the scrap mahogany I used to make the carved lining for the inside of the ukulele. Bent the sides using a bending iron. See, it's hot. Then I clamped in and glued together the sides in this little plywood mold. And there's all my lumber. And then I bent the curved lining. And I clamped that in, and when it dried, I glued it and then made it flush with the top. And then I used this radius sanding dish I made to sand in the radius to the back. Here I sanded that same radius on the braces that'll go on the back of the ukulele. Made a little cutting tool to cut out the hole for the sound hole and the space where the rosette will go. Wow. Used a Dremel to make the impression for the rosette and then carved it out. Make sure it was all deep enough and level. Then I made thin circular strips of padauk and purpleheart for the rosette itself and glued them in. Here I glued in those radius braces to the back of the ukulele and carved a little shape to them. I shaped the braces on the top as well, which are flat. Here I glued on the top, a place from which you cannot return. Fitted the neck and glued in holes where I then super glued threaded inserts to attach the neck to the body with bolts. Cut an angle 4 and planed out the padauk and mahogany for the neck so I can make a scarf joint for the headstock angle. And I glued that on and clamped it down real tight. Used another piece of padauk to make the saddle and carved and shaped that out. Here I'm gluing in the inlays, couple dots out of the padauk and purpleheart, and a cross and a heart as requested by the wife. I cut the fret slots and glued the fretboard on. Then I glued in some little jeweler's copper wire for the side dots. Filed those down flat, and then I shaped the neck. This part is really fun too. Printed some stickers and stained them with coffee. and then stuck that on and glued on the back, which they call closing the box. Here I'm gluing on the binding, which I also made out of padauk, but don't have any video of, maybe because I messed up trying to make the binding 2 or 3 times. But I got it done, and here it is, glued on, taped on. And then I carved it flush. Use super glue and sandpaper to fix the little imperfections. Drilled the holes for the tuning pegs. And I finished it with just shellac that's cut with mineral spirits to cut down the dry time. Then I glued on the bridge. And of course, clamp that down real tight. And I over aggressively hammered in these frets. Despite pleasant distractions, I taped off the fretboard. And here I marked the frets and then leveled them with a sanding block thing and then crowned them. Okay. I polished them first with some real high grits of sandpaper and then with some polishing compound and the Dremel. And see how they shine. And I put on the tuning pegs and had my special wife bolt on the neck with their little hands. And it's assembled. That's it. Ain't she a beaut?